The Sahara Desert, a landscape that is literally synonymous with death. Imagine a grueling 156-mile ultramarathon through this wasteland, where in 1994, out of 134 elite runners, one man simply vanishes into thin air. No body is ever found. No tracks. Absolutely no trace. But then, 9 days later, like a ghost walking out of a mirage, he suddenly appears across international borders. This is the unbelievable true story of Italian police officer Mauro Prosperi, a man who looked death in the face and death blinked. Welcome back to True Probe HQ, everyone. Today's heartbreaking and jaw-dropping survival story revolves around a cop from Italy named Mauro Prosperi. He wasn't just your average guy. He was an absolute machine, obsessed with the pentathlon. For those who don't know, the pentathlon is the ultimate test of human endurance. It demands mastery in fencing, swimming, equestrian show jumping, pistol shooting, and cross-country running. This relentless drive to push past human limits served him perfectly in his day job with the Italian National Police. It forged an unbreakable mindset in him: never, ever surrender. The spark for this crazy adventure ignited when his buddy, Giovanni Manzo, told him about the Marathon des Sables. We're talking about one of the most punishing, downright dangerous foot races on the planet, held right in the heart of the Sahara. Here's the terrifying catch. You don't just have to run a staggering 156 miles in total isolation. You have exactly 7 days to cross the finish line. And it gets crazier. This is a fully self-sufficient race. Throughout the entire marathon, runners have to haul everything on their backs. Your food, your camping stove, your clothes, you carry it all. The organizers? They only hand you water at designated checkpoints and maybe a communal tent to crash in at night. That's it. Prosperi and Manzo were all in. They started a brutal training camp, running 25 miles every single day and intentionally restricting their water intake to prep their bodies for the ruthless desert heat. Fast forward to April 10th, 1994. A 38-year-old Prosperi stands at the starting line in Fum's Guide, a remote, dusty outpost in Morocco. This is the Tata province in the southeast, right where the Sahara unleashes its full, terrifying glory. At the starting gun, Prosperi and Manzo were among just 134 competitors crazy enough to take this on. For the first 3 days, everything went perfectly. They successfully crushed the first 60 miles of the course. But the terrain was an absolute nightmare. They faced blindingly white salt flats that baked their shoes, jagged rocky cliffs, and massive sand dunes that played tricks on their minds. To beat the lethal midday sun, they had to start running in the freezing, pitch-black hours of the early morning. The desert is so vast that the pack naturally splits up. Very quickly, you are completely alone with the elements. The golden rule of the race: navigate yourself. You have to find your own way to the next checkpoint. Their only lifeline was a basic survival kit hooked to their gear, which included a trusty compass and a flare gun, just in case things went south. The race was broken down into 6 agonizing stages. On April 14th, 1994, Prosperi and his friend geared up for Stage 4. This was the monster stage, the longest and deadliest stretch of the entire ultramarathon, demanding they sprint 53 miles in just 48 hours. It was mid-afternoon. The sun was absolutely beating down on the desert floor, and the temperature had skyrocketed to a blistering 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Feeling strong, Prosperi picked up his pace. He left his buddy Manzo in the dust and decided to push ahead solo. But then, out on the horizon, Prosperi spotted a dust devil spinning toward him. Within moments, the winds began to violently howl. After pounding through the sand for about 20 miles, the gusts became overwhelmingly strong. Prosperi veered off his path, scrambling up a sand dune trying to dodge the direct hit of the gale. But this wasn't just a strong breeze anymore. It had morphed into a monstrous, blinding sandstorm. Panic set in. Prosperi knew one terrifying truth. If he stopped moving now, the desert would bury him alive under the sand. So, he kept running right into the teeth of the storm. Desperation started playing tricks on his mind. He thought he was following the race's trail markers, but it was just a desert illusion. Soon, the markers vanished entirely, and he drifted miles away from the rest of the pack. As the daylight faded and darkness began to swallow the desert, there was still no sign of a checkpoint anywhere. The chilling reality hit him hard. He was completely, utterly lost. The sheer force of the storm had practically sandblasted his skin raw and red. His nose was bleeding, and his throat felt like it was lined with shattered glass from inhaling so much blowing sand with every breath. Exhausted and deeply disappointed, he huddled up next to a lone desert bush for the night. He wrapped a towel tightly around his face to keep the sand out, falling asleep with the single hope that tomorrow's sun would somehow reveal a way out. Dawn broke on the 5th day, and the brutal weather had finally cleared up. Fueled by adrenaline and survival instinct, Prosperi ran for 4 straight hours. But when he dragged himself to the top of a massive sand dune and looked around, the overwhelming despair hit him so hard that he lost consciousness. When he came to, the reality was undeniable. There was no way out and no sign of life. As far as the eye could see in every single direction, it was just an endless, mocking ocean of sand dunes. To make matters infinitely worse, his water supply was practically gone. He was staring death in the face and realized he had only one extreme option left to stay hydrated. With no other choice, he was forced to recycle his own urine and drink it to survive. The sun was starting to set on that punishing 5th day when suddenly, a sound broke the dead silence. The heavy, rhythmic chopping of a helicopter. A surge of hope rushed through his veins. He thought his prayers had finally been answered. Wasting absolutely no time, Prosperi whipped out his emergency flare gun and fired a desperate shot into the sky to grab the pilot's attention. But the Sahara wasn't done playing its cruel games. The glare from the setting sun was so intensely bright that it completely swallowed the light from his flare. The pilot flew right past. He never saw him, and the helicopter faded into the distance. Prosperi was plunged back into the deafening silence of a desert that wanted him dead. The crushing realization set in. No one was coming to find him now. From this moment on, it was a brutal, head-to-head war between his own sheer courage and the merciless wrath of the Sahara. By the 6th day, after wandering for hours under a sun that felt like a physical weight, a shape finally flickered on the horizon. An old, crumbling building. It was an ancient marabou, a desert shrine, that had stood empty and forgotten for centuries. Prosperi's heart hammered his chest. He prayed he'd find locals there, or better yet, a well with even a single drop of water. But as he stepped inside with trembling legs, the crushing reality hit him. There was no one. The only thing waiting for him inside those dusty walls was an old grave and a haunting, absolute silence. But Mauro Prosperi wasn't ready to give up just yet. He pulled a small Italian flag from his pack and climbed up to plant it on the roof of the shrine. It was a desperate signal, a tiny splash of color in a beige ocean, hoping a passing pilot might spot it. But the real enemies now were the twin demons of hunger and thirst. His body was becoming a skeleton, his skin was leather, and his throat was as dry as a desert thorn. That's when his eyes caught movement above. Bats, hanging from the ceiling of the shrine. They say the will to survive can make a human do the unthinkable. Prosperi grabbed the bats, sliced them with his pocket knife, and began to drink their warm blood. It was the only way to get moisture into his failing system. For the next few days, this was his nightmare diet: bat blood, whatever stray butterflies he could catch, and desert insects. During this time, he spotted another plane in the distance. Desperate to make a signal fire, he realized he had nothing left to burn. In a final, heartbreaking move, he set fire to his own backpack, his only piece of survival gear. But once again, fate was cruel. The thin trail of smoke was instantly shredded and scattered by the fierce Sahara winds. For the second time, a pilot flew right over him, seeing nothing but empty sand. This was now day 7 in the Sahara. The combination of the setting sun and the soul-crushing loneliness was finally breaking his mind. He became convinced of one thing: he was never leaving this desert alive. And that is when a terrifying, dark thought took hold of him. He didn't want to suffer anymore. He didn't want to wait for the desert to slowly wither him away. Using a piece of charcoal, he scrawled a final, agonizing farewell message to his family on the shrine wall. Then, to embrace the end on his own terms, he slit his wrists. He lay down on the floor of that ancient shrine, closed his eyes, and waited for the darkness. He fully expected that he would never see the morning sun. But in a twist that seems stranger than fiction, death turned its back on him. Because he was so severely dehydrated, his blood had become as thick as syrup. Instead of flowing out, it clotted and froze over the wounds almost instantly. When Prosperi opened his eyes hours later and saw his wounds had sealed themselves, he was stunned. In that moment, he felt like death itself had rejected him. He realized his destiny wasn't to die in this tomb. He bandaged his own wrists and walked out of that shrine with a terrifying new determination. Looking death in the eye had given Prosperi a supernatural kind of strength. He pulled out his compass one last time and started walking toward the distant mountains. From then on, he moved like a predator, only traveling in the cool hours of the morning and evening, preserving every ounce of energy for the final fight. His life became a living hell of extreme opposites. During the blistering, scorching heat of the afternoon, he would desperately press himself under whatever tiny desert bush he could find. And at night, when the desert turned freezing cold, he would bury his body deep into the sand just to keep his core temperature from dropping to lethal levels. To keep his organs from shutting down, he would pull up desert plants, squeeze their roots, and force himself to swallow the bitter, toxic juice. Food was a luxury of the past. To stay alive, he chewed on the raw, bleeding meat of desert snakes and whatever small insects crossed his path. By now, Mauro Prosperi was a walking skeleton. He had lost a staggering 33 pounds of body weight, and his eyes were sunken deep into his skull. Then, on the 8th day, a miracle appeared on the horizon. Greenery. It was a tiny, remote oasis with a small, muddy pot of standing water. He dragged himself toward it, desperate to drink. But his throat was so horribly swollen from the sand and dehydration that every single drop of that muddy water felt like swallowing jagged thorns. He had to force it down, drop by agonizing drop. But it was enough. He had quenched his thirst for the first time in over a week. On the 9th day, just as his body was about to give up for good, he spotted something moving in the distance. Sheep. With the last of his strength, he followed them. And there, standing in the middle of the wasteland, was a little girl grazing the flock. For the first time in 9 days, Mauro Prosperi was looking at another human being. Overwhelmed with emotion, Prosperi ran toward her. But imagine the scene. A crazed, emaciated man, looking like a living corpse, sprinting out of the desert. Terrified, the little girl turned and ran away screaming. Fortunately, she returned with her grandmother. Seeing the absolute desperation in his eyes, these nomadic desert people took pity on him. They took him in and gave him shelter and food. But his body was so severely damaged and starved that the moment he tried to eat, his stomach violently rejected it. Realizing he needed medical attention, the villagers took him to a nearby military camp. But the story takes another crazy twist here. The soldiers immediately arrested him as a spy. It was only after a grueling identification process that the jaw-dropping truth came out. Mauro Prosperi had walked so far that he had crossed the international border from Morocco and ended up in Algeria. He had wandered an unbelievable 180 miles off course from the racetrack. Back home in Italy, his wife and family had already given up hope. They were preparing for his funeral. But when that first phone call reached home after 9 days of silence, the grief turned into absolute, pure celebration. All of Italy rejoiced, was rushed to the hospital, and kept under observation for days. The doctors were stunned. They said his internal organs were so heavily damaged by the sheer trauma and dehydration that by all medical logic, he should be dead. But science couldn't account for the sheer, unbreakable human will. His courage simply did not let him die. Now, you would think after such a traumatizing near-death experience, a person would never want to see a desert again. But for Mauro Prosperi, the opposite happened. His love for the Sahara only grew. He actually went back and participated in that same brutal ultramarathon 6 more times, even finishing in 13th place once. Today, Mauro Prosperi is 70 years old, and that fire in his soul still burns just as bright. Looking back at the nightmare that almost claimed him, he says something profound. The desert that should have taken my life is the very thing that taught me the real meaning of living. Viewers, some stories remind us that the human spirit is truly invincible. If Mauro Prosperi's incredible journey of survival moved you, please make sure to like and share this video. Your loving comments and support are what keep us going, so don't forget to drop your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next great video.